Donald Trump will be sworn into office as the 47th President of the United States.
So we all know that Donald Trump has said he's obsessed with tariffs, but
US President Donald Trump shook the world agenda as soon as he took office. Before he came to power, Trump was already promising radical changes, but no one expected this much.
There are growing fears of a major global trade war tonight.
Donald Trump's first order of business was to impose a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. This move has already caused major question marks in the global economy. Then, Trump drew his second sword and claimed that Europe was a thorn in the side of the United States. Therefore, Donald Trump signalled that the decision to impose tariffs on the EU, just like Canada and Mexico, would be taken.
We have a $350 billion deficit with the European Union. They treat us very, very badly, so they're going to be in for tariffs.
While this second shock sent global markets reeling, the US leaders' moves were not limited to this. This time, Trump targeted the BRICS group, which also includes Russia.
And if the BRICS nations want to do that, that's okay, but we're going to put at least a 100% tariff on the business they do with the United States.
So what was Donald Trump's plan against BRICS? What decisions did Trump take to corner Russian President Vladimir Putin and break BRICS' allegiance to the United States? How did the BRICS members react to Donald Trump's decisions? We will explore all these questions together and take an in-depth look at how US President Donald Trump is reshaping global economic dynamics and how this strategy is affecting countries and markets around the world. But before we do, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and give us a like to stay up to date with our content. Let's get started. First, let's take a look at US President Donald Trump's critical remarks targeting BRICS.
US President Donald Trump has warned of BRICS member countries from replacing the US dollar as a reserve currency.
Donald Trump shook the agenda by reiterating his threat of 100% tariffs if BRICS member countries replace the US dollar as their reserve currency. The BRICS group includes Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, with several countries joining in the last few years. It is quite remarkable that Donald Trump is suddenly confronting all these countries with the threat of tariffs. The grouping does not have a common currency, but the long-running debate on the issue gained some momentum after the West imposed sanctions on Russia over the war in Ukraine. According to Trump, BRICS has no chance of replacing the US dollar in international trade or anywhere else, and any country that tries or would try such innovation should say hello to tariffs. With this threat, the US leader wants to show that he is obliged to protect his country's currency and that he is against the economic restructuring of the BRICS group. The dollar's major role in the world economy, dollar dominance, has recently been strengthened by a robust US economy, tighter monetary policy, and rising geopolitical risks. Economic fragmentation has even increased the tendency of BRICS countries to switch from the dollar to other currencies, and Trump intends to eliminate this trend altogether. A study conducted last year by the Atlantic Council's Center for Geoeconomics showed that the US dollar remains the world's primary reserve currency, and that neither the euro nor the BRICS have been able to reduce global dependence on the dollar. Trump is keen to preserve this picture, but the US leader's harsh rhetoric against the BRICS has normally provoked a backlash from the group. So how did the BRICS members respond to Donald Trump's threat of a 100% tax hike? At the plenary session of the 15th BRICS Summit in 2023, Russian President Vladimir Putin stressed the need to eliminate dollarization.
В частности, укрепляется пятистороннее сотрудничество по таким направлениям, как диверсификация цепочек поставок,
calling on BRICS countries to increase payments in national currencies and strengthen cooperation between their banks. These efforts gained momentum after the United States expelled Russia from the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, or SWIFT, a major player in international financial transactions. Similarly, Iran was removed from SWIFT in 2012, a move widely seen as contributing to Tehran's decision to negotiate in 2015. In response to Trump's threats of a 100% tax rate, Russian officials have now said that any US attempt to force countries around the world to use the dollar will backfire. Iran is likewise expected to support the Russian authorities against this tax threat. In contrast, India, a central member of BRICS, has repeatedly voiced its opposition to such de-dollarization efforts. The Indian Ministry of External Affairs reiterated in December that India is not in favour of de-dollarization and that there are no current plans to create a BRICS currency. Such divergent reactions from BRICS members raise the question of whether US leader Donald Trump's tax threats will work. The BRICS bloc remains the only major international organisation in which the US does not participate. Despite Trump's threats, BRICS members are likely to continue exploring alternatives to the US dollar as part of their broader economic strategy. But do the BRICS have the capacity to withstand these economic tariffs if US leader Donald Trump's threats become a reality? To answer this question, it is necessary to consider what BRICS is all about. Originally excluding South Africa, the acronym BRIC was coined in 2001 by Goldman Sachs chief economist Jim O'Neill in a research paper highlighting the growth potential of Brazil, Russia, India, and China. The bloc was established as an informal club in 2009 to provide a platform for its members to challenge a world order dominated by the US and its Western allies. South Africa was the first country to benefit from the bloc's expansion in 2010.
The first ever BRICS summit is getting underway in Russia,
when the group became known as BRICS. The group added Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates in 2023, with Indonesia becoming a member earlier this month. With all these countries joining the group, the total economic network of BRICS has a very strong spiral structure. After BRICS has amassed so many actors over time, the US has stepped up its game and launched targeted activities against the grouping. The aim was to prove that BRICS was not capable of harming the US. Following the announcement of the BRICS expansion in 2023, former US National Security Advisor John Bolton appeared in the press to address concerns about the threat the bloc poses to Western interests. Bolton described BRICS as a diverse but incompatible collection of countries and suggested that BRICS is a heterogeneous entity, a very mixed bag whose members do not naturally come together and whose expansion poses no serious threat. However, Reinhard Bütikofer, an EU diplomat from Germany, expressed a different perspective, arguing that the recent expansion of BRICS threatens Western dominance. According to Bütikofer, BRICS is becoming increasingly confrontational towards the West, and many developing countries may turn to the bloc if Europe fails to prove its credibility and reputation as a fair partner. These different perspectives on the implications of BRICS's expansion presented an intriguing topic to explore, as they highlighted the complex dynamics of members' strategic interests and their influence within the bloc. China was most distracted by US leader Donald Trump's imposition of a 100% tariff to explore this internal structure of the BRICS and to further separate the grouping from each other. As the largest economy in BRICS, China helps shape the bloc's agenda and priorities. In this context, it becomes even more important to explore China's strategic interests within BRICS. China's evolving role, especially in terms of its economic and geopolitical goals and challenges, pointed to the need to consider BRICS in the broader context of its efforts to tackle global challenges. This was probably Donald Trump's thinking as well. After coming to power, Trump primarily wanted to beat China in the global economic competition. Therefore, he tried to force BRICS, which includes China, with tariffs. However, the debate about US leader Donald Trump's imposition of tariffs against BRICS expansion ignores a critical question. How do China's strategic interests shape the bloc's agenda and decision-making processes? And what are the implications of this influence for global governance and economic cooperation? And does the Beijing regime really want to launch a tariff war against Trump for a different currency against the dollar? Amid changing global economic and political dynamics, understanding China's strategic interests and influence within BRICS is critical to grasping its ambitions. As the bloc's largest economy, China has made efforts to deepen cooperation with other emerging economies and strengthen BRICS's collective interests on the global stage. Beyond advocating for expanded membership, China has utilized BRICS as a platform to counter Western dominance. Recognizing the value of improving global governance through greater participation, other countries such as Brazil, Russia, and South Africa, but not India, which initially disagreed on the BRICS expansion agenda, have shown interest in expanding cooperation with other emerging economies. China's active support for the recent BRICS expansion demonstrates its strategic interests and influence in the bloc. This expansion gives China leverage to leverage the bloc's strengths to its advantage and navigate the complexities of a multipolar world. China's BRICS plans are to use the alliance to increase its global influence through initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative, but other members have different priorities. Russia, for example, is currently grappling with Western sanctions and sees BRICS as a way to offset them by diversifying its economic partnerships. Its economic leverage is limited compared to China's. Brazil and South Africa focus more on regional development and often try to use BRICS to achieve more significant global influence. However, their global interests are more regionally focused and less ambitious than China's. Beyond its advocacy for enlargement, China's influence is seen in its significant contributions to key projects such as the NDB and the Contingent Reserve Arrangement. China played an important role in establishing the NDB, a financial institution that finances infrastructure and sustainable development initiatives in BRICS countries and other emerging markets. China's significant financial contribution to the NDB highlights its changing role in multilateral development banks and its interest in promoting economic expansion and monetary balance within the coalition. For BRICS Africa relations, China has already established itself as a major investor in African infrastructure and resources, and its growing influence within BRICS could lead to further coordinated efforts to deepen economic ties between the Belt and Road Initiative and African countries. However, China's growing interest and influence within BRICS is a double-edged sword. On the one hand, its economic and geopolitical power could bring more significant infrastructure and trade connectivity to the bloc, mainly through initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative. This could be a game-changer for member states, spurring economic growth and cooperation. On the other hand, China's growing dominance could increase tensions with other members, especially India, which is wary of the Beijing regime's expanding influence. India's concerns are valid, given that the two countries have a complex history and competing interests in the region. BRICS is a multinational bloc with diverse domestic and geopolitical interests. This has led to geopolitical rivalry among member countries, affecting their collective efforts and ability to shape a new world order. For instance, power struggles between China and India, economic downturn and political instability among the bloc's members can significantly hamper their ability to navigate complex geopolitical landscapes. Long-standing border conflicts and territorial disputes, such as the Doklam impasse and recent clashes in the Galwan Valley, have strained bilateral relations between China and India. These developments have led to a prevailing atmosphere of suspicion between these two key bloc members. China and India harbour historical resentments and antagonistic territorial disputes, hampering efforts to promote trust and improve bilateral relations. Both countries see their border regions as strategically important and seek to assert their influence, leading to competition for control and influence. The ongoing geopolitical tensions between China and India could escalate further, mainly due to significant political disputes between new players such as Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Iran. While China has strong ties with Iran, India maintains close relations with Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Any shift in these alliances could increase friction. For example, India has been cautious about the Belt and Road Initiative, seeing it as an economic initiative and a way to increase China's geopolitical influence. India is particularly sensitive to projects involving neighbouring countries such as Pakistan, which plays an important role in this initiative. This could intensify existing tensions between India and China, as India may see the growing economic influence of the Belt and Road Initiative as a way for China to overshadow its position on the global stage. involving Saudi Arabia and Iran could increase tensions due to their long-standing regional rivalries. Different parties' interests and conflicting alliances could affect cohesion and decision-making. The growing divide, especially regarding regional security dynamics and maritime disputes in the Persian Gulf, adds complexity to BRICS' relations and could affect the group's stability and progress. In addition, this could have consequences for global trade routes and energy flows, as disruptions in the Persian Gulf region could affect the energy security and market stability of BRICS economies. The likelihood of resolving these tensions within BRICS seems minimal. Recently, however, BRICS members have sought to show that they are moving closer together to resolve these issues. In the context of the newly expanded BRICS, the 2024 summit in Russia marked a critical moment in shaping the future of global governance and economic cooperation. With inflation, debt crises, and uneven post-pandemic recovery at the forefront, the bloc was increasingly exploring alternative trade mechanisms, global economic restructuring, and even a common currency to reduce dependence on the West. China, as the largest of the BRICS economies, was mainly focused on consolidating the bloc's leadership, strengthening economic ties with key regions, and promoting its vision of a multipolar world. So with so much disagreement within BRICS, US leader Donald Trump may see this as an opportunity. In particular, Donald Trump may have sensed China's strengthening of its leadership position within BRICS and may want to indirectly mobilize the Beijing regime. However, these possible plans of the US leader could be dangerous. Despite Trump's threats, experts believe that China will continue to encourage the use of its national yuan in international transactions. China's yuan has become more acceptable to foreign countries, but the authorities still strictly control the flow of funds under the capital account. China is no longer seeking a global yuan as state-owned companies and Chinese individuals move money abroad. In 2013, the Belt and Road Initiative was organized to drive the US dollar out of the Chinese economy and limit the need for market interventions. However, Chinese state-owned companies launched a speculative offensive that forced the hand of the People's Bank of China. The Chinese authorities supported capital markets and restricted households trying to move capital abroad. Meanwhile, the US has increasingly strengthened the global dollar, and the growing threat of US sanctions has limited Chinese policymakers' options. Central to the yuan's future are the crucial questions of whether China will seek to de-dollarize the global economy or simply hedge against possible US sanctions. For the next few years, China seems doomed to the second question. De-dollarization will require China to maintain free capital markets. But the lessons of 2015 suggest that this could lead to another financial crisis in China. Still, China seems willing to continue to denominate central bank agreements for cross-border trade deals in renminbi to counter the sanctioning power of the US dollar. Given these details, China is unlikely to respond adequately to US leader Donald Trump's plan to impose a 100% tariff against the possible emergence of a new BRICS currency. However, China's stance may change when combined with Russia and other partners. Therefore, it remains to be seen whether Donald Trump's tariff threats against BRICS members will work. Thank you for watching.